AI literacy to me is the wrong answer to the right question. The question is, how do we build greater trust? How do we build greater ability for people to navigate an information world where AI is present everywhere and possible? But the problem is that AI literacy as it's currently being presented doesn't actually answer the real problem. This first bullet, I kept it PG-13. This was an answer that we got when we were doing a survey of a local public library on AI readiness. We sent out a survey, we asked the whole staff, we got 260 responses back. We asked questions like, what do you think about AI? What do you know about AI? Do you know how to use it? What are your concerns, et cetera? And then we give this nice little other thoughts. And this was one of the first ones. At UT here is the University of Texas. And so when we then followed up with focus groups, we walked into the focus groups and the answer was, we know that University of Texas is coming into our library. They're going to force us and teach us to use AI. We're going to have to implement it even if we think it's horrible. And we spent a lot of time saying, no, 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 we're here to understand the problem. And what we found was that the problem was that we were treating AI as if it were Google, as if it was just another search engine or another search tool. And so under the rubric, the aegis of AI literacy, there's these two big assumptions which make me sort of back off on the phrase. The first is that assumption is inevitability, that we have to teach librarians have to know how to use AI. They have to know how to use ChatGPT. They have to know the difference between a Markov model and deep learning and generative AI and commercial generative AI because it's going to happen and the world has changed. And so we need to be on board with it. Even though we are very, very early days with things like, are these systems sustainable economically? Are we in the middle of an AI bubble? Where is regulation on this? How are we going to deal with the idea of deepfake porn being easily produced now that OpenAI is going to allow romance and adult interactions? How are we going to deal with the notion of therapy, et cetera? So this assumption that it's going to happen, it's going to change things, but it's not necessarily going to look like it does now. And if we assume that it's going to keep going whether we're there or not, that sort of takes away our agency to shape that as the library community. And the other one is that AI is simply another tool. That AI, oh, I use ChatGPT for this, right? When we ask people, what's the one word you put with AI? One of the common things was ChatGPT, right? It's a commercially generated large language model that produces human-like text. Right? AI, we know, are things that drive our car under intelligent cruise control, that keep track of our fitness on our phones. We know that there are specialized AI being used, for example, in medicine to approve diagnoses of breast cancer and review of PET scans and such. And so what's happening is this assumption that AI is these commercial companies primarily working off the same money or figures around social media that exchanged changed anger for connection, that monetize attention, that want to keep people engaged in their system so that they can monetize it regardless of the effect it has on the individuals, is scary. One of the questions we got on a regular basis from the librarians we're doing the focus group is, who benefits from this? Who's making money on this? And that's very different than when the web first emerged, and we looked at web as a major disruption in the late 1990s, where everyone could build a website and should we have one? Shouldn't we have one? Well, you could have a website with very little investment. You can't have your own generative AI system because with billions and billions of parameters requiring gallons and gallons and gallons of water to maintain data centers that are increasingly power hungry, et cetera, we can't build that infrastructure. So it's not the democratizing effect of technology like the web. It's much more of a concentration of resources and power within a few individuals. And so that becomes a question about, what do we do about this? And why AI requires more than just information literacy plus. Oh, everything's deceptive. My 83-year-old mother can't tell the difference. Well, we just give her a quick lesson and she'll be able to recognize AI images. And the answer is no. No, she won't, because no one can. Like, for example, this handsome, handsome gentleman on the side, that's not me. That was produced by an early version of Sora. Oop. Can you guys hear me? I see when someone says lost sound. I want to make sure that you're still okay. If you could just, in a text, give me a thumbs up.
I can still hear you, David.
Okay, very good. So we had this situation where, thank you very much. I just wanted the thumbs up. We had this situation where if you look at it, AI is really good at producing images that fool people. with the most trained and cynical people finding it. And what this means is when information literacy and AI literacy is currently brought together, it's got a central concept of being triggered skepticism, meaning you're going through your day, you're doom scrolling, you see an image, you see a story, you see something, and you go, is that right? Can I believe that? And so your mind goes from passive consumption to suddenly skepticism. And then we give you all these tools to follow that skepticism, to look at its accuracy, its authorship, look at Snopes, look at these other things. And we build information literacy on this idea of triggered skepticism. But what happens when you're always skeptical? What does society look like? What does our service population look? What do professors look like? What do students look like? What do kindergartners look like when everything they see promotes skepticism, when they can't know if this is real or not? We've seen it already affect the political sphere. It's not just having pictures of a president dropping droppings on individuals. That's funny, ha ha. It's also the notion that we're seeing AI produce thousands of individualized ads that they can put on social media. We're seeing that in how we are putting together our products and how books are being produced. When Amazon had to limit authors to 3 books a day to be published because AI was generating them at such a rapid pace, we have a situation here. AI slop is everywhere and in our collections. And we're starting to see work slop. We're starting to see the idea that one study showed that what's happening is, and bottom level workers who are doing basic analysis, basic review, basic reporting, etc., they're using AI at a larger basis, and it's allowing them to do their job faster and better. They're then pushing these reports and work products up to a second tier that suddenly discover that AI does a great job of providing a lot of verbiage, providing a lot of median access, but doesn't necessarily provide the deep analysis. And so suddenly their workload is increasing. So AI is shifting the workload, not decreasing workload. And we also see MIT coming out with studies that show that people are experimenting with it, and 95% of companies that they looked at didn't find any value add to it yet. And so there's this search, desperate search, for a use case scenario, including the idea of how we can turn it into our browsers. All right, I got to keep running. So I suggest the notion of AI conversant. Our goal should be, as a group, as a library society, we need to be AI conversant. That is, ready to discuss, right? It's an institutional approach above AI literacy. It's a necessary skepticism as well as optimism and indecision, all put in the same group. The role of AI literacy is to take people who don't have skills and give them skills, and in doing so, once again, with the implication of inevitability and tool, to bring them around to how AI can be useful. And I think that that is a step too soon. We need the skeptic, but we need the skeptic to understand AI. It can't be a simple matter of, I heard AI is horrible, or it looks bad, or I read this article. They need to know what they're talking about. They need to talk about guardrails. They need to talk about watermarking. They need to talk about information being used in the notion of how, hallucinations work, but now delusions work. Large long-term access to these models suddenly can have people thinking that they're mathematical genius and et cetera, because systems are built around syncophy, that notion that AI is supposed to make you think it loves you, so you will continue to use it. And that means not correcting you when you come up with the wrong information. We need people to understand that, including at a technical level. So we see this idea of commercial generative AI versus deep learning and targeted AI. We need a critical analysis of AI and the mission. So